House with Warren and Steve online. First order of business is to accept minutes of the January 29th regular meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions, discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor, we'll do a roll call. Steve,
Aye.
Lauren,
Aye.
Melissa, aye. Pete,
Aye.
Shay, aye. Excellent. And then would someone like to make a motion to take the agenda out of order to take the Up Island Public Safety Garage update ahead of everything else, and then after that update, we will go back to regular order?
Full participation because of the history. Let me get this set up. And I will somehow get this thing moved out of the way. Okay, you're seeing, and of course it's not. All right.
There's printouts over there or on the screen behind you.
Okay, so I just have a few slides to get us brought up to how we got here, and then it's really an opportunity for the community to have some open discussion. So just from a historical standpoint, you know, we did go through several rounds of formal bids, and that was over a 13-month period. They were stretched out from February through, you know, in the 23 through March. You can see the amounts were pretty excessive for a garage, although that garage needs obviously to be built to the kind of fire police specs that are mandatory in the state of Maine, of which I found out that in fact the architect has provided that type of design work for us. So the conclusion on that was that all of this, you know, obviously the responses were far beyond what the budget was going to be able to maintain. So then we went into some discussions directly with this Federal Steel building, which they put together some numbers for the community. And they also had a suggestion of a company that could go ahead and do the construction management, the oversight of the project, which was North Point Builders. The original estimations are listed here on this. And based on, this was before I was on the select board, but that the recommendation and approval was to move forward with North Point Builders. And from that period on, we've been in a period of discussions and negotiations because it appeared that the combination of Northport and Federal would work well for us. So the budget for the building is $432,000. And this is very hard to read, and I apologize, but the idea, this was the final quote, and I mean, I should say the latest quote that was provided to us for the, with all the requirements listed, and in fact, some requirements that were not needed to be included in that. But the real big one was this, we were waiting really for the electrical that came in much higher than North Point had thought would be the amount, which brought the dollar amount up to $569. Again, remembering that our numbers around 432. So from those numbers, these are line items. The 569 amount. There was amount in there for septic. There's amount in there for a very large, way too large parking area that we could reduce out. And they also had the, you know, drilling the new well requirements. If we remove those, we were down to 481. There was the interior partitions. There's in-slab heat. That's not that much. It's the type of thing where you're either going to put it in now or you're not going to have it. And there was a good sized generator that was associated with that. If we stripped all of that out, the quote would be at 443. still a little over, but there are potential contingency funds that are available, and I may not have captured all of those, but I did say that there's, there is a significant contingency fund for the health center. And certainly we wouldn't want to pull any funds from that until that was delivered and we know that those funds are available. There's the money that's earmarked for the Up Island Public Safety Garage has been put in an interest-bearing account. There are dollars associated with that, and we can talk about that in a moment. From what I understand, MERT has a reserve fund for the fire department as well, and there could be a few others. So if you take a look at the numbers, we are within striking distance of being able to make a recommendation to the community, but we want the community to be telling us, what should be in this and should not be. Last slide, therefore, we have to decide what features are a must for that to move forward. Determine the gaps between what we actually really have on hand, and then determine if the community is okay with a certain amount of risk of having to rely on yet to be defined contingency funds to be allocated towards the project. So there's a gap there that associates risk with it, and how willing are we as a community to take on that risk? Or do you halt the project, which certainly, is way down the list of options, but is an option. And so from here, I'd like to just kind of open it up to the floor back to Shay to decide based on these numbers, and I can come back and forth on this. I can leave this up for a little bit, and we can have a dialogue on this. Any questions for what I've presented? And actually, before I ask that, Lauren, can you jump in here if you're able to speak well enough with your cold to add anything that I've missed or didn't?
Of course. Thanks, Steve. That was really a great presentation, very clear. And of course, I start coughing the minute I start talking, but I'll give it a shot. The only thing, and maybe I'll have Pete jump in, is that we might be facing an increase in the cost of steel. Maybe Pete could talk about that.
Yep. I did see something on that. Pete, can you talk? Go ahead.
As a matter of fact, I think we heard from the Steve Blatt Architects that the cost of steel won't be going up because of the tariffs, but they will be having a price increase, in a yearly price increase. I believe it was in late March, April. So either way, if we want to go ahead with this, we really ought to buy the building and at least have it on site. But we would like to go ahead with the whole project.
Okay.
Do you have anything else that you need to add, or is there any other committee members that want to speak before and then we'll open it up to select board members? All right.
Mert.
Oh, go ahead.
I just received this information that was presented, which is very, very helpful to understand why the Up Island station is pricey, and it's helpful. A couple of things that we can eliminate. One is under the air compressor. What's listed here is a 240 large air compressor. I'm gonna have one fire truck up there that requires air to keep it aired up. I still have in possession the old small air compressor out here in the garage that meant to go up to that facility. So all I need for power for that is 110. So that is an item that could be shaved out. The other item, which doesn't state whether it's inside or outside, is the EV charger, which I don't want it in the building. I don't want it outside the building. With the information out there from the fire service of problems at charging stations with vehicles, I don't want it near the station, period. We ain't never gonna get an EV fire truck anytime in this future. And I don't see any firefighters afford to buy an EV vehicle. Something could change, but I think we could address that at a later point. Keep in mind, everybody, the reason electrical is up, to my understanding, is because you need a 400 amp service to run a couple of heat pumps. When you jump from 200 amp service to 400 amp service, you are double or tripling the cost of that kind of equipment. So just keep that in mind. That's the price to pay for a large heat pump capacity. So that's what makes the budget number high on that. Everything else seems to be in order that's listed. That's all I wanted to mention.
So with that electrical service, was there any discussion had by the committee about changes in that would drastically reduce any kind of the phase requirements, or?
Not,
That's just the first time I've heard that, so.
no, there hasn't been any discussion regarding that specific, either the air compressor or the 400. It's, so, I mean, we could take that back to the architect and see if there's a way of changing that, but based on the square footage, I'm assuming they designed that, you know, to accommodate that particular size building. But
Yeah, we do have,
Go ahead, Lauren.
we do have to take this back to Northport Builders and get another quote, because we did ask them to take off certain things and put them in as add alternates. And we didn't get that in the last iteration. So we are taking that back. And I think those are very good points. And we can have the architect and we can discuss all of the above. I'm glad you caught that, Mert, because I thought we had told them that we did not want EV chargers. So thank you for catching those points.
And I also, I just realized I had a typo. On the 6th slide, I had the cost at 423, which is incorrect. It's 432. So it's correct on slide 4, and on the title, I inverted those numbers. So I just want to make sure that correction is caught. There's someone with a hand up, Shay.
Yeah, I just want to see, Melissa had her hand raised earlier, so I'll start with Melissa and then we can go to, I think that's Laura.
Steve, I'm looking at slide 3, the budget. It says that the date of this estimate is 9/26 of 24.
For the building. So that was all taken from previous minutes. So I just copied down what was stated in a public discussion previously, but the building cost is still the same through the end of February, probably most of the way through March this year.
So is this an estimate that we received back in?
Yes.
September? I've got somebody saying no in the audience and I've got you saying yes.
This just came to us, they carried over previous date from, they tried a couple of attempts at giving us a quote, and this was just a carryover date.
Do you have
This
the,
just came to us just in the last couple of weeks,
oh, so you guys have had the electrical quote for a couple weeks?
just, well, I don't know if it was a couple
No,
of
on
weeks.
slide 5, which has the last quote we got, we've had that, it was after the last, I believe it came in right after the last meeting, so we didn't have it to update, so I said in that meeting, you know, we would have a more thorough update. So we have had that pricing for a couple weeks, yes. The one that has the quote, that you went by it, I think. Go back to, I'm watching you.
Well, I think just to clarify, my understanding of what has happened is that when Northport Builders started an estimate for us with the building for the shell. And then we asked them, I think when as a select board, we approved the 432 to be spent. We said we approve moving forward with this contingent on getting a full estimate for services because their numbers included the building and construction, but it didn't include electric and a number of other sort of subcontracted things. So the number that we just received since our last meeting, I believe, is what we requested from Northport Builders, which was like, what is the price of the entire
Right.
package? Because that's what we provided the go-ahead for when we approved the 432.
Was the electrician?
No,
Sorry, was that, I couldn't hear, was that a question or was that I just
My
couldn't hear.
guess
Was
too
that
was the
a-
Was the electrician? Obviously, somebody must know something.
Northport Builders knows.
Gotcha, so they haven't given us any information about who they're planning to subcontract with.
Not that I know of.
And when they gave us this estimate, did they know what the total size of the budget was that we approved to negotiate with them, or is that something that we may have withheld it from them just because giving a total is sometimes not.
Right. Lauren, do you know, I certainly, I don't think that we gave them a number.
No, we did give them, correct me if
Oh.
I'm wrong, Pete, Anderson, but we did give them the total amount that we were aiming for. So they, Northport Builders,
Yeah, but it was not the 432, it's 400, I think.
Yeah. Yep. So I don't know how much detail is helpful, but I think it was Bill Boardman actually that suggested at our last municipal building project committee meeting that even though we had gotten from the town a total dollar amount dedicated to the Up Island Public Safety Garage, the total amount was 432,000. Bill Boardman suggested that we leave ourselves a little contingency room, and that we tell Northport Builders that we wanted him to try to look at bringing it in to under 400,000. So we did give them $400,000 as our target for them to go for. And we still, as I said, need to go back to them one more time, but it's time that we reported to the select board our first full estimate. But even though this is a full estimate, we do need to take it back because he still has things in there which we had already asked him to take out.
Melissa, do you have any other questions that you?
Do we have what they presented on 9/26? And then with the updates of the add-ons that we've had, that way we can see the progression of the budget and the estimates?
Well, we could probably go back, but I'm not sure. I mean, this is the bottom line is we proceeded based on, you know, a set of numbers that were given. The number has moved as they have added on things. There was additional maybe requests that came, you know, we've taken some things out, but this is the final budget other than the couple things that were just brought up, and or if we want to look at these numbers. I mean, we can go back and look at the history. There might be 5 or 6 different quotes that have come through, but I think what's important today is this project is starting to bog down, and time usually kills projects. So I think we as a community need to focus on, if this project is one that we want to support and move forward, we have to take the most recent proposal and quote and have them do one last number. Then we can either pull certain additional things out ourselves, get to a final number like this one that says 581 or 443 or whatever the number is, and then we're still going to have probably a slight gap. And so the question I'd like to hear from the community is, how do we feel about utilizing contingency funds from other areas, knowing that this project has 0 contingency fund that I know of? Lauren, is there a contingency fund within this 432 number?
There is not.
Okay, so I want everybody to be aware that, we're using contingency funds. We would be suggesting to use contingency funds from other sources, and this project is going to have some overrun probably. But I mean, so that's my suggestion, is focusing on what we're comfortable with. Like, first of all, Mert's got his, is a generator is required, I guess, or I'm sorry, a air compressor, but you have one. Is that generator size property? Do you have to have a generator? I mean, those are the questions.
Right. I want to go to Laura next because she's had her hand raised for a while. Go ahead, Laura.
400 amp power. Yeah, all the crap. If you're looking to use the building.
Name Michael today.
Hold on, sorry. I want to hear what you have to say to Mike when it sounds like Michael is the one that's online, and then.
Yeah, I gave my hand raised.
So we're just, at the very beginning of looking at what you have going on here. As you know, we're architects, and we've said we'll be happy to look at what you're doing and give you our 2 cents if that's helpful. I mean, I'm glad that your architect seems to have covered the at least basic life safety requirements for an asset like this, which does have to meet higher standards. And I'm going to jump to the conclusion that even though you've switched over to a metal building, that metal building spec meets those same standards. There's a lot of details. I mean, the dollar estimates that are on the pieces of paper that you put up on the screen are very broad-based swipes at budgets. I would say that to be useful, you'd really want to see a detailed breakout of especially something like the electrical, so that you can make some determinations as to, what your options might be. Some of the stuff, for example, you might want to be able to put in a full-size service that you need, but then maybe for right now, depending on where things fall, you don't need a 400 amps actual service, inside the building. But if you bring 400 amps to the shutoff point, you're ready to go in the future if that comes to fruition. Because I know, for example, if you do put in an EV charger, which I would tend to agree you probably don't need now, but you might
want one in the building.
Well, you're never in the building, but you might want that in the future, and the service requirement for that is obviously higher than if you don't have it. I look at the parking, for example. What is the parking? Is that a paved parking lot? Or is it a crushed stone parking lot? And I don't even know what the plan is. Are the trucks driving through the parking lot, or are they driving over an apron out to the street and the parking lot's separate? I don't know. But if it's a paved parking lot, you probably can save a pretty good amount of coin by making it a crushed stone parking lot, at least at the beginning. Other kinds of ideas. The septic system is nice, but it's $30,000. So maybe what you want to do is put a black water pipe from the bathroom to go, you know, outside the building and stub it off, and for the immediate future, use a composting toilet. I mean, I don't know how much use it's going to get. Basically, isn't this facility's idea to be just a garage and people go there, get in the trucks and go to their mission at the time, and then they're not hanging out there having a barbecue, I would imagine. So, you know, those are the kinds of things that if you have enough detail, you can start to look at. I think that, you know, knowing how the building is going to be insulated and the details around where especially a metal building, how it meets the slab, and all those things are critical to how it's going to perform in the long run. So I guess that's my 2 cents for right now. I just think you need more detail, but I think it sounds like you're within shooting distance of getting this thing to be a workable
And they
project.
should verify if the generator is required, which I'm suspicious it is for that.
Yeah, we think the generator might be a use group requirement, but that's easy to determine. The electrical contractors know that. That's all
Thank you.
Mert, you said that the 400 amps were just for the heat pumps, is that correct?
Did you hear her?
Mert, she wanted to know if the 400 amps are for the heat pumps.
I don't know directly because I haven't seen all the electrical bills,
Okay,
but I do know that you have to jump up quite a bit of amperage to provide power for heat pumps. Now, the 400 amp also incorporates the rest of the demand of the whole building.
right. I was-
Heat pumps per unit is, you know, it's quite a bit of amperage per unit.
Right,
On a 200 amp service, you can't run the 2 heat pumps.
okay,
Because here in this building, they put more heat pumps here.
right.
We added another 100 amp service up at the end.
Steve or Lauren, do you guys have a contingency for if you don't run the 400 watts and the heat pumps, how the building will be heated?
No, there is
Yep,
no
yep.
contingency there. I mean, but that is the heat for the building.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that has to be included. Go ahead, Lauren.
No, that's right. I have a couple of thoughts here. One is we can certainly provide the Michael and Laura more detail. We have a lot more detail in terms of the building construction because we have full architectural designs that were given to the construction manager to carry out the bids with. So we certainly have more detail. This is a very professional architect, Steve Blatt Architects, and so they did a thorough job. So all of the things that you mentioned, I know that were in all of the specs. The second thing I want to say, and this is not at all to stop the conversation, but just to say we are probably going to lose this contractor if we delay much longer. The price of the building may go up, very likely will go up. And certainly we're very close to this construction manager, maybe not thinking that this is going to be his project. That's a possibility. So although I think these questions are very good, and I don't mind continuing to to answer them as best we can, I think the big question is, do we want to go forward? Or is the dollar sign, is this community saying, since we couldn't right now come in at under 432,000, do we need to abandon the project? If we aren't going to abandon the project, we could certainly go forward with more detail and bring it back again, but I don't think we can do it in good faith unless we're willing to tell the contractor we're just fine tuning it. We're not completely asking him to do more work without good faith. That's
Right.
my guess on this. Steve?
No, I agree. That's what I said, projects. This individual, I think, is pretty hesitant now to do the project just because the scope can, kind of keeps changing. They're having to do a lot of work. Everybody's busy. We do not have a backup for this. That's why my point was to focus on, can we get a directive from the community to move forward. Do you have enough information to move forward, knowing that we're gonna get as close as we can to the 432 number and then use some contingency funds? Are we comfortable with telling the select board to do that so we can recommend that or not? I mean, and if you say we need more information, we can do that, but we were trying to do, because I got involved in this obviously late last summer, early fall. We were shooting for a late fall cement pouring, and here we are in mid-February. And if we keep doing this as a community, this is not going to happen. I've been involved in enough projects where, in my opinion, and I'm not pushing either way, but we as a community need to make some decisions and go with the outcomes of that decision. That would be my recommendation as a community.
I completely understand, that, but I also want to make sure that the contractor realizes, I mean, if they heard that we had a $400,000 budget, and within the past 2 weeks is when we got the final number, which exceeds that by, over $100,000, that we need some time as a community to have a conversation about that. And I would hope that contractor would recognize that that's not dragging our feet. That's us doing the due diligence that we need to make sure that we can pay the bills.
Right. To that point, Shay, then we should frame what are the talking points that we need to address, like within the next 2 to 4 weeks, where we say we're going to put a stake in the ground like first week in March or second week in March. What do we all feel that we need to outline to get the right answer so that everybody can make a decision? I agree with what you're saying. I'm just saying, then let's frame this out so we can get to that point.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So if you winnow down the project, like get rid of the, some of the electrical work and all that, do we have $100,000 in contingency funds to use? I mean.
No.
I don't think we need $100,000.
No. If we whittled it down, if we took some things off, we wouldn't need $100,000.
Well, right now you need 150 or 180.
Well, if that's it.
So if you whittle it down, it takes it down to like 100, but, I mean, it's so well and good to say, I mean, things are never gonna get cheaper. They're never gonna get cheaper. So the longer you wait, the more expensive it's gonna get. And everybody seems to have agreed that we need this up island station for safety, because look what happened when the Narrows went out. I mean, we need it. So if we can figure out how to winnow down some of the expenses and then maybe put some, like you said, put the septic off till later, or, that's what I think we need to do it personally.
Am I misunderstanding this, that it says we were at 569 for Northport Builders, and then with Steve's recommended reductions, we're down to 443, so our gap is $20,000 over the approved.
481. Either one of those.
Yeah, if I put it back up, if you're looking at a screen, but we're at 5, the septic and well are definitely can be pulled. That wasn't supposed to really be in that quote. And Lauren, please correct me if I misspeak. The parking was a gravel parking, but it was a very, very large, like, Hannaford parking size, and we need like 3 cars. So, yeah, we can do that. There doesn't need to be interior partitions. There is not going to be a bathroom. So the real one is, the in-slab heat, the generator. So, if you take, this, maybe this is 20,000 here, and you keep the in-slab and the generator, I mean, you're probably within 20 to 30,000 of the amount of the 432. There certainly are funds available, from what I've been told, from the interest-bearing account has, at least 10,000 in it, if not a little more. So
Steve,
there
you
is
also-
funds.
You also have
All right, go
on
ahead.
here, you also have on here the EV charger, which can be eliminated, which
Yeah.
is still in the quote.
Yeah.
That's gonna be significant. You still have the air compressor that Mert said he's got. So
Yep.
that's gonna be significant. So
Good
you're
point.
probably not that far off. The 432. When you start reducing, if you take all of this out, and maybe you leave the in slab, maybe you leave the generator, maybe those are offsets. So you're at let's say you're roughly at 443, you're $10,000, $12,000 off the budget. I mean, I would think contingencies probably would cover that. I don't know. You guys know that better than I am a newbie, so.
I don't know who was speaking, but you're right on. I had just about exactly the same numbers. But
It's-
until we get the final, I always pad it a little bit. So I have it about maybe 15 to 20,000 that we need.
It's Scott DeGrasse, by the way, Lauren.
Hi, Scott. Thank you.
It does sound like we have so I guess a couple of thoughts. I agree. I think that we're close enough. Things are not going to get any less expensive. It is frankly remarkable that we have, we shaved off $500,000 off of where we started in the original quote. So I think we should feel good about that. I do think that, it will be helpful to have greater detail on the details of the 569 quote so that we can really tease out what changes we can make that have minimal impact, like the air compressor. So that we can get down to what the real number is and be able to present the impact. And I also think that, we have a good group of people here tonight. I feel like we don't, if the details of this presentation weren't necessarily available that far ahead of time. So I think it would be helpful and appreciated by the community to have a specific information meeting about this and the questions and changes to inform what the final contract is that we sign, recognizing that we very likely need to sign something, I would guess, probably by our March 12th meeting, so that we can hopefully get something nailed down before the end of, before steel prices go up. That's kind of what I'm thinking about the next steps, but I don't know how other people feel.
I certainly don't want to make the decisions, right? Well, that, there's gonna be more involvement before we make a vote with 12 people.
Does that feel comfortable to the committee to ask you all to find a date for a public information meeting, just to, I think, give the presentation that you gave and have maybe some answers to the couple of questions that were raised about what those changes might be, and just have some time for some detailed question and answers, so that we can let Northport Builders know that our goal is to have something signed by the 12th. Does that feel comfortable and realistic to you as a committee?
Lauren, why don't you speak first, or Pete, you guys are.
Scott, sorry. I'd like to ask Pete if he had a comment first, and then I could add something.
No, I didn't.
Okay, I think the suggestion is a really, really good one, and I think we could do that. I'm not sure the timing. We could talk about that, Shay, how we could fit it in, because I'm going to actually be out of the state of Maine in about a week and a half. But I think we can definitely look at that. My biggest concern, and I'm just putting it out there, is that we'll lose this contractor unless we move fairly swiftly. So that's not a reason to not go do due diligence. I'm just putting it out there. This has been a process that for all kinds of reasons has taken much longer, as Steve said, mostly because the contractor himself had so much work he was doing. Anyway, that's neither here nor there, but that's my point.
Do we know a date when the price of this thing's gonna go up? Cause it was kind of nebulous with that.
In April.
Are you sure?
Yeah, that's the email said.
But plus that you guys voted
I
for
mean,
Trump.
it'd be a shame to wait and then have it go up just because we waited too long.
Well, we can buy this building, but then worry about the rest of the details. One way to go.
Can I say something? I wouldn't have a public hearing until I got a new bid.
Corrected one that has.
Corrected one, yeah, it's no sense to go and
That's
talk
detailed
to
out.
people and say, and then, go all over hash this over, in a month or something. I think someone's gotta go back, if it's not Steve, can't be Lauren, but someone needs to go back and talk with them and say, make the changes that Mark will try to give to us and show us.
So what I'm hearing is the summary is good, but you want the details. So we'll get the details on that created the summary. We'll have the items we discussed today removed. So therefore, theoretically, we should be at a final. Now, if we keep going over each document, I can tell you every time you'll find something we could change. But so I will pull together the details, the overview again, and I return Friday. I can work with Mark tomorrow, get that started. And then I can have a similar package that's just specific to the dollars and cents. And how do you want to socialize that so people feel that they have time? So I would like to get something next week. So at the next select board meeting, everybody can have, 4 or 5 days of this information being out there. But I don't know how you do that because I'm new.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe even a recommendation is just to have a public information meeting, maybe an hour before our next select board meeting on February 26th. And with the goal, of just having this information out there in the public that people can review ahead of time, and then ask questions at that meeting. I think really this is about, I think it sounds like you've gotten some good questions tonight to help bring back more clarified information to a meeting on the 26th. I think it sounds like the committee's close to having a recommendation to the select board for how to move forward and what you think that total dollar figure is going to end up being. So to me, I think the public information meeting is, this, as you know, it's been a moving target. And so I think it will be helpful to just be able to give another opportunity for update to the community about where things stand, to ask questions, for them to ask questions and to understand what recommendation you are asking for the select board to approve and enter into a final contract. That's sort of how I'm thinking about it.
Okay.
Does that make sense, or is there anything that other people have to clarify or to make sure that you want to see when we get this next round of information?
Question. On here, under sales, it has ferry fees and lodging listed twice.
Okay.
It's just stuff like that. It makes me wonder if it's
Yep.
double billed in it. That would actually bring it down. And then I don't even know what the lodging is, if we're housing people here on the island at what rate.
I'll
There's
look
one
into
other,
that.
And then if it's gonna change, because now we're going into peak rate,
I
that,
I got one other question too, when I look at under the plumber, it says install all plumbing and building and connect to septic system, and it's $30,000. So if you're not gonna have the septic system,
Right, I mean,
you're roughing it in the building, but you're not connecting it up. So should be, I would think, some savings there as well. So I think most importantly is to go through this and just identify the areas of question and go back to Northport and just say, we're here. We just gotta close the gap and get the line items out of there that should be eliminated. I bet you're gonna come in under your 432.
but the one thing that Mert said was going to be in it that I don't see in here is the holding tank.
The holding tank he has.
I thought you said you had.
Right, but the installation and any of that's not listed. And so I worry that that's gonna change.
Right.
No, they've designed the
Slab.
slab to
Hold on,
a larger.
We've got way too many individual conversations here. So there's a question from Melissa about the installation of the water tank. And it sounds, Lauren, like you were about to respond with
Yes,
that.
that is already, the container itself is not a part of what Northport is supplying. And the slab, we have the engineer did increase the size of the slab to accommodate the water tank. So that's already in the plans.
Okay.
Great. Was there anything else that was part of the conversation happening at
No,
the
we're
table
just-
that you wanted to bring forward?
We were just talking about the tank itself,
Oh,
not a
gotcha.
holding tank, it's a water tank for the truck.
Gotcha.
So that was all we were
Yeah,
talking
the
about.
question was, we have a holding tank here, correct? Right?
For refill, the 10,000 gallon tank outside supplies the sprinkler and supplies water to the fire truck.
Right, so up there, if we need to flush out the tank and stuff like that, we can bring it down here. We don't need to flush it after an emergency.
Up at the Up Island Station, I was gonna put a 1,500 gallon tank to fill a fire truck
There.
when needed.
We have the metal pump?
Up there, inside, it would be heated for year-round access to water. We get down to college, go up there, you can refill it. And be ready to go.
So we're gonna be running heat pumps and all that power and everything for a year.
You gotta heat the
All
whole
there.
building for the fire trucks, or don't freeze.
So we're gonna store the fire trucks up there all year.
Oh, I hope to have a fire truck up there.
Okay,
I don't want it to freeze.
all right. I thought this was for emergency purposes.
One fire truck
Yeah,
will be up
watch
there.
the truck, yeah, okay.
But the ambulance probably only go up when there's a storm. I'm imagining it's not gonna have.
So does that make sense? Does the committee feel like you need any more information between now and the next meeting on the 26th?
No,
Thank
I,
you, as possible.
great, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, shall we take the meeting back into regular order? All right, I think we are now at visitor comments. Is there anybody here that wants to address anything that's not on the agenda? Yep, go ahead.
I've submitted a letter to Jordan for the roads and the limbs and the trees and stuff, nothing's happened yet. 2 months ago, maybe. Is anything ever gonna happen?
Yeah, can you speak to?
You submitted a letter to Jordy?
Yeah.
He didn't give it to me. So that's where I'll
I can tell
start.
you where it is, if you'd like to go look for it.
No,
It's hanging on the wall in the garage up there. I seen him put it there.
in the public safety garage, I mean, or the transfer station,
His garage, I guess you call it.
the workers, public
Yeah,
works.
yeah. Nothing's been done.
I haven't seen it, so I can't answer. Don't give things to him in the
Well, he said
future.
he'd take care of it, and I'm just wondering. I
Well-
mean, I think we waited enough.
There's your answer. I've been waiting for, I mean, we got a lot of lists. We did a lot of cleaning. Silas has done stuff. Other people have cleared on the sides of the
Cleaning
road.
it up, pushing it into the woods is not the answer. Look at Town Beach, it's a friggin' mess. Have you been down there and looked at that?
Yeah, I mean, what Silence did?
Yeah, in order, why didn't they just load it on the truck? Now you've got to hire someone to load it on, on it.
Well, that
It's
will
just added
happen.
expense. If you guys want to save money,
No, I'd like to see your list. I'm anxious to see it.
I'll get a copy of it.
Okay. Don't wait a month. Give it to me.
Well, I've been waiting a lot more than a goddamn month for the road to get cut back, haven't I? Nobody seems to give a shit about that. I do. It's tearing my trucks up.
You're not the
When we
only.
have ice, which we're gonna get supposedly this weekend, the winds are gonna be even lower.
Can I just ask a question? So my understanding was at least that there was gonna be some work that was done on East Shore Drive on the limbs. Was that work
That was done.
completed?
Mhm.
And I know we put out a call for people to indicate areas of particular concern.
Mhm.
But it sounds like, I mean, do we have any progress on that yet, or is something?
It's kind of been ongoing. One person kind of gave up around the whole of Turtle Head. That was their point. But I haven't seen what Babe's letter is, but most of them are just,
It's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Just ride around, look at shit hanging over the road. I'll go for it. All the place, kinda,
take chainsaw with you.
yeah, no problem.
Well, I think it's a valid point because it's been brought up by a number of people. I'll take a note to, maybe I'll start my own committee on and try to see what, go ahead.
I mean, it would be helpful if, Janet, you could ask Doherty, once you get that letter, can you please scan it and send it to the select board? And, you know, I sort of hate all of these standing updates, but I do think that this has been going on long enough that it would be helpful to have, you know, sort of regular public works update to figure out how we can get our hands around this, because
Okay.
I understand the frustration.
Yep. I agree.
Just damn discouraging.
I know previously we
You
talked.
want to build a fire station up there and you're gonna put one truck in it. One truck is gonna pump that water out in less than 5 minutes. You gotta have 2 trucks up there, so let's build an addition on next year. It's not gonna work. You're not building it big enough. And no, I'm against it, but I'm just trying to tell you the truth, that one truck is not enough up there. Yeah, it's gonna get your initial 1,000 gallons, 1,500, whatever it is. You ought to have a tanker truck up there too. Am I wrong, Matt?
The idea was to put a truck up there, get you something in early response. It's 2 bays, so we offered it one for the ambulance. And it's to address the isolation between the areas. We've been split and cut off more than once due to microburst storms, severe storms. And it was just a start. If we can't get a 2-bay garage passed, how are we gonna get a 4-bay garage passed? Gotta start somewhere.
So it's all about the narrows. So we can spend $400,000 or more on rocks on East Shore Drive. There's a lot of rocks. They're very big rocks. Why can't we spend another $400,000 on rocks and line the narrows with rocks? I know you wanna lift it up 4 or 6 feet, whatever it is, great. All we need is something to keep the waves off the road. Why can't we do that?
We are working on it.
I know, but we don't need a freaking bridge. We don't need to elevate the road. Why can't we just put some rocks to break up the waves? We don't need these dome things to raise clams in or whatever the hell they for. You know what I mean? Let's not ruin the most beautiful part of the island. Let's just put some rock out there to stop the waves from bashing around. Why can't we do that? Beautiful job on East Shore Drive. Farley did a fantastic job. and we ruined the relationship with those guys. So. Rocks, they don't float away, they don't melt, we can reuse them in the future if things get horrible around here. Just get a bunch of rocks, get them over here. It's $400,000, that eliminates that. Get Jordy a chainsaw. That'll be helpful. Why can't we do this? Why do we have to go to the extremes on everything?
Are you looking at me? Are you looking at? I'll let you look at Melissa. She's the selectman.
Science and different studies have found that throwing rock money at the Narrows isn't going to be sustainable.
You know
We
what?
put
Expensive,
rock
right?
money on the Narrows previously. That's how we ended up with the riprap that we have up there. And so in order to try to make something more substantial and sustainable is why we went ahead and found Cherie. And we're looking from all over the world about the different ways of how do we not just have to keep dumping $400,000 worth of rock into it
It's Mother
constantly.
Nature,
Right.
sucks.
So then when
So we're
you,
paying her $50,000 a year to tell me the tide's coming in and out, in and out.
Really, Mike?
We could just buy
Okay.
rocks.
Mike, so
Sorry,
no, I understand, but what we're trying to do with that study is to make sure that what we build there is a 50 to 100-year solution, that we're not going in there and we're building something that is going to sustain increased storms and increased water levels. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to accomplish it as quickly as possible, and we are funding it through state and federal grants as much as possible so that it is not taxpayer money that has been funding the majority of the work to date. So I understand that that it is frustrating. I am frustrated that it has taken as long as it has. But because it also was permitted by the Army Corps of Engineers, we want to make sure that the design is done in a way that respects the permits, that we have the permits in place that are required.
That wall that's there now has been there over 50 years. And I'm gonna bet you it's gonna be there another 50.
Well, it's failing now, which is why we need to rebuild it.
I haven't seen it.
well, they don't have some bigger
That's
rocks.
why I started to shut the road. That was on the other end. That was in the Narrows. That was on the other end.
The north end of the Narrows.
No, it was in the. He closed it down there so people could turn around and go back. The other end is what washed out.
The other end washed out, but there were projectiles from the rocks that, because the current seawall is structurally failing. So I think ultimately we're going to see some bigger rocks there. But we also need to rebuild the underpinning so that we're not just going higher with something with a crumbling foundation, which is what is happening with the current revetment.
Been doing this a long time. I guess I'm doing it wrong.
I think rocks definitely not.
Yeah.
All right, is there any other comments? All right, well, the good news is that the Sea Level Rise Committee is meeting tomorrow at 5:30, and I'm happy to have anyone attend, and you can hear an update and ask any further questions.
Can I come?
Love to see you, Mike.
What time?
The committees are where the work happens, so if you have comments or feedback, we definitely encourage you to attend. It will make the product stronger in the end.
I've had a lot of comments, nothing's happening. I won't be there. Oh, Lord.
All right, is there any other questions about sea level rise? All right, let's move on to ferry service update. Peter is here. I know that he told me he doesn't have an update.
I got no news on the ferry service. The last ferry advisory board meeting was 3 weeks ago. I reported that. There's been nothing since then.
The emergency ferry task force that was scheduled on the 5th was canceled because there was a
Ferry emergency. Because there was a ferry emergency. No, just,
Because the
union.
the union invited a conversation with town officials from across the different towns to talk about the topics. So the next task force meeting is going to be next Wednesday, I believe at 4:30. Anything else very related?
Peter?
No.
No, I have a question. Has there been any discussion about Bill Gary being promoted out of his position and who's gonna be taking over that spot? Have you heard anything?
Well, it has not been posted yet. The new spot, they have closed the applications for the assistant director's position. It was Derek Dotsey quit a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, I can't remember. Those applications have been accepted, it's been closed, and they haven't made a decision. As far as Bill Gary goes, he's gonna continue to work on the ferry board until that position is filled,
Okay.
but they haven't posted it yet.
Thank you.
Anything else very related? All right, upcoming meetings and subcommittee reports, planning board, February 24th. Anything else? All right.
Shay, on the ferry, has anybody else had success with writing to legislators I've had or solid responses?
I know that I've been copied on a number of different legislator letters from the ferry, our meeting next week.
Very, very good. I mean, I know that, yeah, and then Matt Lack is sponsoring the bill about having it become law, that the ferries have to be berthed on island.
Yeah.
And our rep is co-sponsoring it, so that's great. And there's other reps that are also co-sponsoring, and there's a couple other, Peter, you mentioned the one about the
I think there's
Maine Maritime.
10 different bills before the legislature this term about with ferries in them.
Which is good. So the heat definitely has been turned up significantly, I think.
Yeah, Steve, go ahead.
if someone can talk to Genevieve about when they're all going into session for budgets. It'd be good to know when the DOT session is gonna be. Because if, like I'm in town, if we just had 3 or 4 people attend that to and make just a little noise when you can ask questions during that session, that would be good, just to, it's just another approach as opposed to letter writing. You're right there in front of the secretary or the director or whatever the term is for the DOT head. Might be it.
Yeah, I will definitely, I'm happy to send her an email about that. That's a great suggestion. Anything else on ferry? All right, town manager's report.
Okay, I have given you the minutes from the January 30th Lighthouse Committee meeting. And I have a February 3rd, an email from Dave Kinney from Mackenzie Kurth version regarding the Lincolnville Oswald Ferry Terminal project update, along with that plan that she had sent to Lincolnville, and Dave forwarded it to me. Because I hadn't seen it, I don't think, and she hadn't sent it to us yet, so. I printed it out there if anybody's interested. And I had an email from, as Peter mentioned, from Robert McFerrin of the MDOT announcing Bill Geary has been selected to fulfill the duties of the multimodal director in MDOT, Bureau of Maintenance and Operations. That was Rick Dubois. Remember him? That was his role. He retired. You've got the January Bar Harbor Wealth Management Capital Reserve sub-accounting. An email from Janice Petzel, asking to present an Energy Committee grant application. And then I just received yesterday, here, you've got the Emergency Ferry Tax Service minutes from January 22nd. And other than that, I am just working on the budget.
What are questions for Janet? Okay. No other correspondence?
I did, I had forwarded an email from the Northport
thank you.
administrator that's not on here.
You forwarded it to me?
Yep. Yeah, and then I forwarded it to you.
What was it?
He's asking for support. He had found, it's James, Kasuf.
Okay.
James Kasuf, Lucy's dad, is an administrator for Northport, and he's wanting to, build support that for the budget committees that are coming through, that that the majority of the members could be municipal, persons, but that not all of them are required to. And he had sent us an email with the different findings that he had and was hoping that we would read through them and make a decision if we would support Northport's request to not just have to have a person that's elected into the municipality be on the budget committee, that it would be more proactive for communities to have somebody that might not be on a volunteer committee or a select person. And that if we are willing to follow through with that, if we would please write to, and he gave us the name of the person and include him with it.
I'll look again. I'm sorry, I did not see that too.
If I could just ask for everybody to review it that I sent out, and then we can make a decision on it next meeting, I think that would be fine, and I'll let him know that we had different things going on today.
Yeah, that's great. And I think it's a great proposal.
I do
We've had a very difficult time finding people that have time. So I think broadening it a little bit would be very helpful. And I thought you did a good job of explaining the way that other counties did it so that it was not precedent setting.
Yeah, I mean, we have a hard time with just our members trying to get one of us to go over because of job and life and everything else. And so if there was a member of our community that we could send in our place, I think it would be extremely beneficial.
Yeah, and then they have to find a place to stay over there, or they have them at night. That was the thing.
28 south, International Boulevard, in 500, turn right, turn right.
Somebody's driving somewhere.
I don't know who could that have been.
Steve, you need
So-
to turn right.
So we can add that. Can we make sure that that gets added to our next agenda?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Shay, can I ask one procedural question?
Sure.
Going back to the ferry service, I know that my father and I submitted a summary of the DOT or the findings from Central Maine Power. Were those notes and final findings from CMP of where they stand today disseminated to the select board?
I do.
I just want to understand how that works because we were asked to do this by one of the ferry committee members. We did it. There's some very good information relative to the cable under the bay, whether it will support the charging stations. We've done all of that. And I just want to make sure that that information has been disseminated to the select board because we don't want to go and do this work if people don't want us to do the work.
Right. I don't believe it has been shared with the select board yet.
Did you
I think
send
it
it to
was,
everybody? I can't remember.
Yeah,
Yep.
well, I mean, we had a meeting scheduled on Monday and we canceled it. You were
Oh.
emailed, there's 6 points.
Yeah.
There's very clear 6 points that were identified by CMP relative to the infrastructure required to support charging on the island. So it's critical information for the select board to have, I think. Shay, you were certainly on it. I just want to make sure that procedurally, we're not doing things that, number one, are not needed. And number two, that I don't want to do it if you guys aren't even gonna see it, so.
right. So I guess just procedurally, what I was thinking is because I think the people on that email was
All the committee members.
the emergency ferry task force members who are
Okay.
meeting next week to
Yep.
talk about it. And generally, then those meeting minutes are forwarded to the select board, or if there's a recommendation that comes out of that. That's generally how it works. So,
Okay. That's fine. So if it more than likely it will come up in next week's meeting and then the notes will come back to you guys.
Yep.
Okay.
And we'll make sure, I'll check with Gabe to make sure he has it, does
Yeah, he was on that
He's on it.
He's on it?
Yep.
I think
Okay.
Janet, I think you were on it as well. Yeah, you were. So. It came from me, so maybe you don't have my email address, maybe, so maybe it went into your cylinder file. Still under file.
I need a bigger
The
one.
spam file.
Yeah.
I call it the trash can under my desk.
No, I thought it was I thought it was a really great summary of where things.
It's good, it's all good news, it's all
Yep.
great news, so, yeah.
All right, Janice, you are up. Thank you for your patience.
Oh, thanks. I wasn't expecting to talk in front of this many people. I'm here representing the Energy Committee, and we're just asking the select board to okay our submission of a concept paper to this government agency, which is called OSED, which is Office of Clean Energy Demonstration, and the program is Energy Improvements in Rural and Remote Areas. So it's asking for a 7-page general concept paper of what we would like to get money to do here, which is establish a microgrid and solar that would help stabilize our energy supply over here during power outages and in general, make it more affordable for electricity over here. The concept paper does not obligate us to do anything. It just gets us through the door, hopefully, to when we would send the full application to this organization in August. We will have a copy of the 7-page paper before your next select board meeting. We just didn't quite get it done for today. The whole point is if we get this money, which is really a long shot, that it would not cost the town any direct funds to do it. It would be grant funded, including a project manager and a grant manager, because I know there's a concern with overloading staff with paperwork. So that's all I want to know. You don't have to do a letter of support right now. If we do go for if we make it through the gate with this concept paper, then, you know, it's a full-blown presentation, and we can give you more details then. Let's see.
That was my only question, is the letter of, or I guess kind of the pre-proposal, they'll give you a yes or a no, whether or not they will want to see a full proposal.
Yes,
Great.
exactly. Exactly. The chances of us getting the agency, but before all the reorganization happened at the federal level, they were hoping to fund between 20 and 50 projects for up to $10 million each, which what we're talking about might cost that much. But I suspect this agency is going to get axed, and this is going to be all work for nothing, but we just wanted to get our foot in the door just in case, and it helps us figure out what we want over here, just, you know, doing the preparation work. So it might be for nothing, but we're going to try it anyway. If it's okay with you.
Do we need a motion of a blessing? I make a motion to bless the Energy Committee with our well wishes and approval to charge a gate.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Any further questions, discussion? All those in favor, Steve?
Left.
Aye.
Warren?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Pete?
Aye.
Jay? Aye. Good luck.
Thank
I
you.
also want to say thank you so much for, in the proposal, having the project manager and the grant.
Yeah, well, I know that needs to be a burden.
It does, and we want to make sure that we're not
Right.
overloading the town office, very limited staff with it.
Yeah.
And so thank you very much for being cognizant of that.
Thank you.
All right, no other new business, no other business. We will now approve warrant number 17. If I have a motion.
So moved.
You can second it.
Any questions, discussion? All those in favor, Steve,
Aye.
Lauren,
Aye.
Melissa? Aye. Pete? Shay, aye. And next up, I don't know, you have an appointment for one Michael Clayton for the Greater Point Sailors Museum member.
Go ahead.
So moved.
Decline,
Ken
decline.
threatened me in my office, kept talking, wouldn't let me go, Rachel had something to do with it.
So you don't know about
I
this?
had absolutely no choice.
He has
You have a
choice,
choice until you get sworn in.
and he's gonna do it, and he's gonna fulfill his duties
You guys can swear
amazingly.
Swear at. Keita swears at people.
I would,
You guys are the best.
Sure, second.
well, who made that motion? Thank you. All right, any further questions, discussion?
Wait.
All right,
It's not that.
Mike is now going to serve as chair of the. Yes. I win. Steve,
A definite aye.
Lauren,
Aye.
Melissa,
And physically, I.
Pete,
Aye.
Jay, aye.
This means more committees are in your future.
Uh-huh,
All right,
Start little.
taking Scott too.
and I have no further comments tonight.
Oh, come on, that's fine.
Lauren,
No comments.
Steve,
I want to say that the 500,000 that was pulled out of this was directly related to Lauren and Pete's work, and that they've done a great job and should be recognized how much they've done for this effort. So just wanted that to be on the record.
Melissa,
Nothing,
No comment.
all right, with that, motion to adjourn.
so moved.
Yay.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out.
Oh, Mike, you don't have to be sworn in.
I was trying to tell you, I don't think he knows, so we have to go back, where he realizes what's name.